Hi, I'm Rhett, and recently I just had to change testing tools for my organization. And so today I want to walk you through the 6 steps that you should consider if you're going to evaluate which testing tool you should get and which one will be the best for your organization and your testing efforts. So let's get started. I've used Adobe Target, I've used Optimizely, I've used Visual Website Optimizer, I've used Google Optimize or Unbounce or Lead Pages. I've even used WordPress theme testers. I want to begin by saying that at the end of the day, the tool doesn't matter that much. If you don't know the right testing strategies and you don't know how to use the tools to get the right outcomes, then the tool's not going to make a difference. You may have heard the saying garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage inputs into the tool, it doesn't matter what tool you have, your outcomes will be garbage. Remember that the tool itself won't make or break your testing program. It's what you do with the tool, it's not the tool itself. But I still want to teach you how you can optimize or how you can evaluate which tool will be right for you. I've got 6 factors that you should consider when you're evaluating your tool to help you understand which tool is the best one for you. Factor number 1 is the budget. And you have to first understand or evaluate, do we have the budget, do we have the money available to even purchase that tool at the rate that we would need it? So if you can't get past step 1, if there's no budget, it's a first factor to consider, because immediately you can change to the other tools that might be more budget friendly, because there are lots of tools out there, even those that are free, and you should first consider how much money do we have, because that could make this a very quick conversation. Factor number 2 is how much traffic and conversions does your site get? And the reason why this is important, because if your site has just a few hundred conversions per month, or 1,000 conversions per month, or 100,000 conversions per month, that's very different. You need to know how many conversions you have, because the conversions are your main success, and that will determine how many tests you can run and how many variations you can run. So if you have low conversions per month, then you may only be able to run maybe 1 test per month, or 1 test every other month. And so if you're going to plan on spending a lot of money on a testing tool and knowing you're only going to run maybe 6 to 12 tests per year, probably not the best idea. If you're in that situation, you probably want to look at a cheaper or free testing tool, because you know that the cost benefit trade-off isn't very good for you. You have to have some huge lifts with just those few amount of tests to compensate for the high cost of a testing tool. So the other thing you need to know is your traffic. Your traffic is the people you have to influence those conversions. If you have low traffic, the odds of you influencing them to convert higher is much lower, because you don't have that many people to work with. However, if you're a high traffic site, then there's more value in spending more for a testing tool that's more expensive, because you have a lot of people you can potentially influence with more tests per month. So again, that's the second step. You have to understand the 2 things to evaluate are how much traffic do we have, how many conversions do we have, and that can help you understand what level of tool we should buy. Factor number 3 is how complex is your site. If you have a very simple site that's made up of just a few landing pages, well then odds are you can get a simple testing tool, because all you're going to be doing is swapping out landing pages or maybe elements of those landing pages. If your site, however, is complex, there's complex functionality, complex widgets. If you're like sometimes even retail sites where you're selling goods throughout a checkout process, sometimes the more complexity you have, the higher investment you need to make in a testing tool that will allow you to do more things in the context of your complex site. And so factor number 3 is really just to evaluate what kind of test do I have, or what kind of site do I have. If your site is simple, well, then you probably deal with a simple testing tool. If it's more complex, you might need more advanced features to allow you to do more complex testing inside your already complex site. Factor number 4 is how established is your team, your testing team. So if you are a one-man show and you don't have any development skills, and your main goal of testing is just to tweak images or headlines, or maybe move simple things around, well, if that's your objective because you're a one-man show, then potentially you could just go get by with a simple testing tool. However, if you have a team of resources, you have designers and developers and a creative team behind you, and you want to put a lot of effort into creating lots of variations, well, now you might have a better case for getting a more complex tool, because you'll be doing much more complex testing and more testing because your team is bigger. Another question you might ask with the size of your team and your resources is, do you need additional resources to augment your team? Some agencies are specialized in using certain tools, and if you want to use them as a testing agency to help you do more tests, then there's a benefit in having them use their tool. And so you need to evaluate, what is the size of my team, what resources do we have, and will that impact the choice of tool? Okay, factor number 5 is, are there advanced features you need in the tool set? And there's a lot of features and a lot of tools. But just a few things you might consider are like, do you need advanced geo-targeting? For example, with the testing that I'm doing, we don't want to show tests to people in the corporate office. We realize that a lot of people go there and it starts biasing the test, and it just creates a lot of political drama for us. And so for us, having geo-targeting is very important. Now, for a lot of tools that just comes standard, but for some maybe cheaper tools, they might not have that. For example, do you need automated recommendations? Are you planning on doing personalization? Do you have a cross-channel website and you need to be able to test on your app and your website and maybe a retail store? All those are different features and things that might be incorporated into certain testing tools, but that might not be in others. Another feature that a lot of companies need is a server-side integration. If you're doing a lot of development type testing and you want to test at the very beginning and incorporate that into the development system, then server-side integration could be really important for you, and having that could be an important part of the tool. Okay, factor number 6 is, are there certain integrations that are important to you with your testing tool? For example, if you're using analytics, you might want to say, does my tool integrate with analytics? Or for us, we have a heat mapping tool, and you may want to say, does my heat map tool integrate with the testing tool? We have a repository tool that we use where we can integrate the test results into our repository tool so that the results of each tool, our test, are sent right to our documentation. So that integration is important for us because it speeds up our workflow time. Another example for us is we use Telium, and we want to use Telium audiences that we're tagging and collecting to be able to use for audience targeting, personalization, and segmentation. And so again, if you have important integrations that your tool allows, then it can speed up your time, it can give you better data, and it can make your overall testing program better. And so that's the 6th factor. Are there important integrations you need to consider? And does your tool integrate with those things so that you can get results faster? Okay, here's your bonus factor you want to consider. Most tools come with support. And you may want to ask yourself, or ask the company or the tool that in question, is what is their support like? We've had instances in the past where we had problems with a testing tool or bugs or errors, and we would just get stuck. And we would send it to the company, and the support turnaround time was very lengthy. And so here we are waiting on important tests to get out, but we couldn't because the support the tool offered just wasn't high enough for our needs. And so your bonus factor is, what does support look like for this tool? Do they have premium levels of support that you could purchase? And if not, will they be able to help you do all that you need to do regardless of what comes up? So support, your bonus factor, make sure you consider that as you consider that plus the other 6 factors in choosing a testing tool. So again, I mentioned earlier that I just recently went through the process of trying to evaluate tools and switching tools. And for me, and for my business context and the company that I'm with, it came down to a certain few things. It came down to support that was offered and services that were offered. One of our goals for this year, for 2019, is to scale our testing program. And we have a team, a really good team of developers and strategists, and we have a great group of designers, but we want to scale the amount of tests and the things we're doing and building. And to do that, we need to augment our existing team with additional services. And so we found a company that allows us to do more testing by using their services with their tool. So for us, that was a really important factor. The other driving factor here for us was that this team had those important integrations I mentioned. We use a variety of tools in our testing, and this tool has good integrations with the ones we're already using. So for us, that was a factor because we think it will save us time in the long run. And finally, there's things about the tool that we were evaluating that make it seem like it's going to be better in the long run. The market positioning, the features that they're focused on building and augmenting. Some tools and companies may not give as much attention to new releases and new features, and so you have to understand that as well. So there's all these things come to combine to understand which tool you should choose. I want to finish with 3 final recommendations as you're evaluating your testing tool. Recommendation number 1 is to remember that sometimes you do get what you pay for. So if you're considering going with the cheapest tool, well, there may be trade-offs that you might run into as you're actually going through testing. However, my second recommendation is still the same: to get the cheapest, best tool you could afford. That's just common sense, right? You get the best you can for the cheapest price. However, there's a trade-off of best and cheapest, so make sure you consider that. So my third and final recommendation is to keep this very important point in mind, that the tool will always be secondary to the inputs to the tool. It doesn't matter what tool you have, you can fail pretty quickly if you don't know how to test, you don't know what to test, you don't know the strategies and principles of testing. You can have the worst tool in the world. You just maybe some simple tool that's free, but if you know the correct strategies and principles, you can still get a ton of value out of testing with that tool. And so please prioritize your strategies, your inputs, and your principles of testing before the tool, but of course, get the best tool you can. So thanks for joining me today. I hope that this was valuable and helped you see how you can evaluate which tool you should get for your testing program. And if you like something, please like the video if something stood out to you or you learned something. And then additionally, you can subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every Thursday. And you can also visit me at testingtheory.com, where I have more details about testing principles, testing theories, and you can sign up for my newsletter so you never miss some of the new stuff coming out. Thanks for joining me, and good luck with your testing.
No. All right, recording there.
Yes.